Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Dustin Christ, and today we are finally going to talk about The Force Awakens. Just saw it last night, and I was going to do this video last night, but it'd literally be me just screaming at my phone at how amazing this movie is. I don't want to say perfect, but my God, there are movies that are hyped and that don't live up to the hype. And then there's The Force Awakens, which is hyped and completely lives up to the level of hype we have all felt about it. This is actually the second video that I filmed because the first one I did a big long synopsis of the storyline, and it really just bogged things down, and I really didn't want to do that. So kind of going back and I'm going to give you my quick thoughts on it because I don't want this to be a 40-minute video on one movie alone. Man, oh man. Long story short, worth your time, worth your money. This movie is awesome. Absolutely awesome. From the opening crawl to the final shots, just astounding. There are going to be some spoilers here because I'm going to talk about some of my favorite things in the movie. But I'm not going to do a whole synopsis of the storyline because obviously, since I just said there's spoilers, if you haven't watched the movie yet, get away. If you have, stick around. We'll discuss things. Yeah, man, I was just so impressed. So infinitely impressed with everything that I saw on screen. And nothing impressed me more than the characters. Just the characters. You go back to the prequels, and they're kind of like this big special effects spectacle, and I feel like that was supposed to be like the real draw. But if you watch the original trilogy, it's all about the characters, man. And The Force Awakens continues that tradition in that these are some of the most well-rounded and three-dimensional characters that we've seen in Star Wars for a long time, and it doesn't take that long before they're really fleshed out. Where to start? I guess start with that lovable little droid BB-8. Man, he is a scene stealer. Put in there for the kids in a lot of ways. He is sort of the cute, plucky, little super expressive little droid. That unlike Jar Jar Binks, does not dumb anything down. Like, he earns every laugh he gets. There's no fart jokes, no nothing. I mean, that little droid is just, every time you see him on screen, you just kind of smile because he's just so expressive and so lovable. And I now want one of those toys. I want one of those BB-8 toys. I don't know why. I don't know what I'd do with it, but man, do I want one. All right, let's just get him out of the way because I can't move forward without talking about my favorite character from the new movie, and that is Kylo Ren. I was a little apprehensive when I saw that Adam Driver was cast because, and it was the same way as Heath Ledger when he was cast as the Joker, and then it just completely blew me away. Just completely blew me away. His whole narrative arc about how, long story short, Han Solo and Leia's son, named Ben, was being trained as a Jedi by Luke Skywalker and had an inferiority complex about not being as powerful as his grandfather, turns to the dark side to get more power, and becomes Kylo Ren. And basically slaughters Luke's new Jedi Order. Luke goes into hiding, and he has become basically the second incarnation of Vader, or is at least attempting to be. Such an interesting character because instead of viewing a Jedi that is trying to, a Jedi like Luke and Anakin, who is trying to get away from the seductive powers of the dark side, here you have a person who willingly goes to the dark side and then has to fight off the light in him. Such an interesting dynamic for a character because in Star Wars, we're used to our villains being bad and our good guys being good. And this is a little bit of a flip, because here you have a villain who might not be completely a villain, in that he hasn't completely purged out the dark side or the light side in him yet. And there maybe still be a hope, maybe it still be a hope for him. But through the events of the film, you kind of see that Ben Solo, or whatever his last name actually is not going to be around for much longer, and that Kylo Ren is here to stay. And there was just something about him, his ferocity, his aggression. You know, he's everything that Anakin Skywalker should have been in the prequel trilogy. Like, it actually makes me lower my opinion, because I just got done making a big video about how I thought the prequel trilogies were really good. It actually, like, watching Kylo Ren and watching his struggle through the entire film, it really just makes Anakin Skywalker look like a whiny little bitch. It's so fucking good, and he's everything that the fall of Anakin Skywalker should have been, because Adam Driver just sells it. I mean, there's a line in the film where he says to his father, Han Solo, "I feel like I'm being torn apart inside," and you just see it on his face, how the two sides of the Force are just tearing this kid apart. And he wants to completely give himself to one side because he thinks that's the right thing to do. But at the same time, like, that light, that nagging side of the Force keeps pulling him back. And it's not until what he thinks, we don't know because we haven't seen episode 8 and 9 yet, but when he kills Han Solo, he thinks that is going to be the moment that completely turns him to the dark side. And I guess we'll see what happens, because through the events of the film, he gets pretty fucked up by the end of it. And it's going to be interesting to see where the character goes from there. But man, just watching him, that voice with the helmet is so creepy. And then even when he takes the helmet off, he still has that creepy edge to his voice. And it's just so good. It's so effective as a Star Wars villain. And like I said, his ferocity, because he just throws, like Anakin would throw a tantrum, and it's like he threw like a piece of a thing on Tatooine after his mom died or something. Boo hoo. This guy ignites his lightsaber, completely fucking destroys a computer console, and then kind of sits there and breathes heavy for a minute and goes, "Anything else?" And that got one of the biggest laughs in the theater that I think. And when a villain makes you hate him, but also feel sorry for him, and in some scenes like that, completely understand him, understand his frustrations. I mean, that is a villain you want to watch on screen. And I can't wait to see what Adam Driver does with Kylo Ren in the future films, because he's got a lot to answer for, especially if he ever comes face to face with Leia. That's going to be an interesting scene. Okay, so we got Kylo Ren out of the way. Fucking best character in the movie. Best fucking character in the movie. And we all knew he was going to be a badass. Everyone made fun of his lightsaber when the teaser first came out, but you knew he was going to be a badass. And he did not disappoint. So let's go ahead and get into the big hero of the story, which is Rey. And again, could not have been more perfectly cast. There's a toughness to Rey, but there's also a vulnerability and a longing for a sense of purpose. And when she finds out what that purpose is, there's a bit of rebellion against it, but eventually she gives in to the Force and finds her true calling. And that gets us to that fucking amazing, like, this movie has so many fucking amazing shots in it. It's ridiculous. Like the final, 3 minutes of the film, you're just sitting there like, you just want episode 8 to start as soon as episode 7 ends. You're just like, I have to know what happens next. She's a scavenger. She's an orphan. left on a desert planet for sort of unknown reasons. Sounds familiar, eh? If I had to put money on things, I would say she is the daughter of Luke Skywalker. And that when Kylo Ren was purging the Jedi Order, uh, not only did he kill Rey's mother, but you know, he's coming for Skywalker. He's coming for Luke Skywalker. What is Luke going to do with his daughter but drop her off somewhere where he can't find her? And much like what was done to him, 40, what? See, well, no, I don't know the time frame. 30 years to Empire, or 30 years to Jedi, and then so maybe like 36 years ago, or longer than that. Shit, doesn't matter. When Luke was a little baby, he was left on Tatooine because everyone feared Anakin finding him. There, I don't feel like doing the math right now. And much like Luke, eventually the Force starts to call to her and puts her on this path of not only confronting Kylo Ren, but also finding Luke Skywalker, who may or may not be her father. I'm betting on it because at the end scene, when she's going to hand him his lightsaber back, his eyes, I swear to God, his eyes were brimming with tears and red. And I was like, that's got to be his daughter. That has to be his daughter. And I guess we'll find out in episode 8. But, Rey, much like Finn and Poe, very plucky, very funny, humorous, really lovable characters that also have a hard edge to them and can really, really sell those hard edge parts of the movie. Like I said, Finn, the stormtrooper who turns good because he sees the slaughter of this village in the early parts of the movie and just can't handle it and says, I'm just done. I'm done with this. And through the events of the film, goes from being a sort of a cowardly character to a very heroic character. And at all points in time, a very humorous character. Probably the funniest character in the movie. Just a lot of humor, but at the same time, it can turn it on a dime and really sell those hard moments in the film. And they did a really great job of finding this guy, and especially with Daisy Ridley as well, because those two characters, new people, carry this film all throughout. And just, it's really going to be interesting to see where his character goes from here. I can't wait. I really can't wait to see what happens next. Poe Dameron, not a lot in the film. Kind of a lot in the beginning, a lot towards the end. Very humorous in the beginning, and man, he has a rough time of it. Kylo basically runs him through the ringer, and you can kind of sense that Poe is being set up for a little bit more in the sequels, and he's more of a means to an end in the first movie, and will maybe be a little bit more explored in the second movie. The returning characters I thought were all really great. Chewie is hilarious in this. Just a really funny character, and also really sells a very sad point. Han Solo, great job by Harrison Ford, really selling the age, but also the rebellion against that age in Han Solo. And the moment where Kylo strikes him down really sells it really well. There's this, Kylo's kind of pleading with him to help end his conflict inside. And, Han's thinking that Ben wants to come back to the light side, so he's trying to help him, and then Kylo just ignites his lightsaber through Han's chest. And nothing's really, Kylo kind of thanks him for giving him this opportunity to go completely to the dark side. And this look on Harrison Ford's face and this touch on Kylo Ren's face as he's, the light is leaving his eyes and he's looking at his son for the last time. It's a really, really good moment in the film, and really sells the whole Kylo Ren arc. And it's gonna be weird going forward without any Harrison Ford, but that's going to lead us into Leia. And man, Kylo's got a price to pay with Leia. But kind of really underused in the film. But really nice to see Carrie Fisher back, and surprisingly, um, still has a lot of gravitas and is still a lot of sort of plucky charm as well as Leia. And there's always a weird thing about these actors taking on these roles after so many years. Are they really going to be able to embody the character again, or are they going to just be the actor kind of doing an impression of the character, like another character we'll talk about in a minute? But I thought Carrie Fisher did an amazing job, and I really hope that in the episodes 8 and 9 she has a much bigger part, because she was kind of really underused, and it's kind of really hard to get a feel for the character in this film because she is so underused and sort of, I guess, maybe one dimensional a little bit. But it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here for that. C3PO, a little bit of a role, but it kind of, again, it drives me nuts because it feels like Anthony Daniels is doing an impression of Anthony Daniels instead of doing C3PO. Like, watch the original trilogy, listen to the voice, and then, like, it feels like in the prequels he kind of forgot how to do his own voice. And it's like this weird, almost slightly higher pitched version of himself, and it continues in this one. So, that's weird, but, whatever. And then finally, Luke Skywalker. He's only in the film for like a couple seconds, but his appearance at the end of the film, it just really, it really sells that holy fuck, shit's getting real, and hypes you up so much for episode 8, like just so much. I really can't wait to see what they do with his character, and really the unimaginable sadness he must feel because this is his nephew now that's out there slaughtering people, and it's kind of his fault in a way. I bet you he feels a lot of guilt over that. It's gonna be interesting to see a very sort of subdued and reserved Luke Skywalker who's just like, I fucked up. That's gonna be really good to see. That's gonna be a really interesting dynamic for the character. But aside from the characters, the new character Maz Kata, she's kind of the Yoda-esque character. Really kind of sets Rey on really kind of sets Rey on her way. A really interesting character. I hope survive the events of the film. Some of the characters we don't really know if they survive the events of the film. Snoke is interesting. I hope he's not as big as portrayed in the film because that just seems kind of out there, but whatever. General Hux, I really like him in that really crazy Nazi rally sort of manner that he has about himself. And I like the interaction between him and Kylo Ren, the sort of antagonistic, like, they almost seem like antagonistic brothers who are trying to impress their father, you know what I mean? In trying to impress Snoke. Who else? Am I missing anyone else? Captain Phasma, she was barely in the film. That's kind of a letdown. Hopefully we see more of her later on. But yeah, all in all, like, the characters are just really, really good. I hope we see Lando. I hope Lando comes back. But with the new cast, I mean, you cannot complain with this new cast. They really did an amazing job. Really awesome job. The look of the film is fantastic. Yes, they talk about all the practicalities of the sets and the stunts and things like that, but there is a lot of CG in the battles and all that. You're not going to get away from it. And you can kind of tell with certain ways that the Millennium Falcon flies that, yes, this is not a model. This is actually a CG model. But it works. It works really well. It works a lot better than a lot of the dogfights in the prequel trilogy where it felt like nothing had weight. Everything kind of does feel like it has weight, except for like a few weird moments here and there. But God, that final lightsaber battle between Kylo and Finn, and then Kylo and Rey, just God, that character of Kylo Ren, like that is so, like, he gets mortally wounded, not mortally, but like severely wounded and he's out there fighting with like this horrible like blaster shot to him, and he's like psyching himself up by punching himself like in the wound, like he got where he got shot. He's hitting himself to like psych him up to continue this fight and stuff. And it's just the ferocity of that character is just, it's something we haven't really seen in Star Wars yet. This sort of like almost forcing yourself down a path you don't really want to go, and it's gonna be really interesting to see where it goes. But man, I don't really know what else to say about this movie. If you haven't seen it and you watch this video, I'm sorry I spoiled things for you. The spoiler warning was in the title, but if you have seen it, let me know. I mean, really, I want to know somebody out there who didn't like it, and I just want to know like what is wrong with you, like what about it that you didn't like? Because for me, The Force Awakens is just, it's just pretty damn perfect. The new order of the films goes as follows. In last place, you have Attack of the Clones, then The Phantom Menace, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, and then Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, and Empire Strikes Back. Yes, The Force Awakens is, in my opinion, that fucking good, and it completely rests on the shoulders of what an amazing character Kylo Ren is, and also how amazing the other characters are. Like, just in this one movie, Kylo Ren is like one of the best characters in the Star Wars saga, completely, in my view. I just think like the dynamic of that character is just so perfect. So anyway, that is my thoughts on The Force Awakens. I'm just sitting here like chomping at the bit to go see it again. Just, I loved everything about it. Absolutely everything about it, except for the slight J.J. Abrams, the universe kind of putting things in the right place, with Han Solo just happening to find Rey and Finn on the Millennium Falcon. Like, that was a little bit like, oh, all right. A little bit like in Star Trek, how the universe kind of put everybody on the Enterprise perfectly in their positions to deal with the situation. But it's the Force, man. It's the Force. So anyway, guys, that is it for this video. Much shorter than the original one that I shot, and not as draggy with me giving you a play-by-play of the movie that you've already seen. But anyway, that is it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.